The storm didn't knock. It whispered my name through the glass. I remember standing behind the counter, staring at the empty guest book, when headlights cut through the fog. 3 shadows stepped out, each one slow, deliberate. They carried nothing. No bags, no umbrellas, only silence. When the first one smiled, it didn't reach his eyes. Who comes to a mountain hotel with nothing to unpack? Who leaves with less than they brought? The manager told me not to ask, to treat them like anyone else. But no one else walks through a door that doesn't open for the living. Later, I found water on the floor, but it wasn't from the rain. And in the reflection behind me, someone was still standing long after I'd turned away. By morning, their rooms were spotless. Beds untouched, windows open. The guestbook names had bled into one gray stain. Mr. Grayson poured coffee like it was a ritual, not breakfast. When I asked where the guests went, he smiled and said, "They've already checked out." But the bell kept ringing every hour, exactly on the minute. And each time I heard a faint whisper near room 9, the one that doesn't exist on the floor plan. The voice didn't call my name. It remembered it. More guests came that week. Different faces, same emptiness. None brought luggage. None remembered leaving. One woman asked me what today meant, and before I could answer, she cried without sound. The clocks ran backward after midnight. Mirrors fogged, though the air was dry. The smell of wet pine clung to every hallway, and once, while cleaning room 12, I found a folded note that said, only, "You work here too long, and you want." I found an old guest book older than the hotel itself. Names looped in elegant ink from decades past. And halfway down the page, my handwriting stared back. Same name. Same initials. Same slanted letters. I'd never written it. My hands began to shake as I turned the page, and a drop of water fell from nowhere onto the ink, smearing it into unreadable ghosts. When I looked up, the hallway was gone, replaced by fog and a faint sound like applause from behind the walls. That night I dreamt the hotel breathing. Each door exhaled cold mist, each light flickered like a pulse. The guests walked in circles through the halls, smiling as if waiting for someone. When I woke, fog covered the floor like water. The bell rang once, and the sound didn't stop. It stretched thin, echoing through the walls until it sounded almost human. Somewhere down the corridor, room 9 opened again, only this time it wasn't empty. The next morning, fog covered the dining room tables like spilled milk. The smell of burnt toast lingered, though no one had cooked. Mr. Grayson was already seated, reading a newspaper dated 40 years ago. I asked him if the guests had left again, and he just smiled. The same tired, hollow stretch of lips. They never leave, Eli. They just forget. His words felt heavier than the air. When I cleared the plates, I found fingerprints on the china that didn't match anyone's. I stared at my reflection in the window, and for a second, the person looking back wore a different uniform. Older, frayed, almost identical to mine. How many times had I stood here before? By noon, a single guest appeared, a girl no older than 20, trembling as if she'd run for miles. She said she didn't know her name, only that the fog followed her here. I offered her tea. Her hands never stopped shaking. Mr. Grayson told me to give her room 9. I refused. He didn't argue, only stared until I felt the world tilt slightly, as though gravity was his idea, not nature's. When I finally looked away, the girl was gone. The key to room 9 hung crooked on the wall, dripping with water. That night I checked every door, each one open to the wrong room. The lounge led to the cellar to the attic, and the attic to a version of the lobby where no lights burn. I saw myself behind the counter smiling. My reflection looked tired, older, eyes like wet glass. "You're doing well," it said, voice muffled as though spoken underwater. I tried to run, but every door led back to the same hallway, lined with mirrors, breathing fog. I found Mr. Grayson in the boiler room, standing beside a furnace that wasn't lit. The walls hummed softly, like distant voices echoing from the pipes. He said, "The hotel needs caretakers. It forgets the ones who remember." Then he handed me a rusted key and whispered, "You've always been one." I didn't understand until I noticed a nameplate on the furnace door. E. Hollow, tarnished and old. My initials. I dropped the key. It didn't hit the floor. It just disappeared. After midnight, the guests gathered in the lobby, silent, staring at the walls. I counted them. 12 faces, 12 pairs of empty eyes. But when I blinked, there were 13. The 13th was me, standing among them, smiling faintly, water dripping from my sleeves. I turned to the mirror and saw the real me behind the counter, breathing fast. One of us had to be real. The others just waited. The bell rang again, long and low, and every head turned toward room 9. Morning light never came. The sky stayed the same dull gray as the walls. I sat behind the counter, watching condensation crawl down the windows like veins. Mr. Grayson was gone, but his teacup still steamed. Every clock had stopped at 3:07 a.m. I found a note beneath the bell. Check them out before they remember. The handwriting looked like mine. I searched for the guests, but every hallway was rearranged. Stairs that went nowhere. Doors that led to copies of the same room. Somewhere deep inside, the hotel was moving like an animal shifting in its sleep. In the kitchen, plates clattered by themselves. The oven ticked, though it was unplugged. When I opened the freezer, frost spelled out words. "We're still hungry." My breath came out in clouds. The scent of burned sugar filled the air, sweet and wrong. I turned and Lydia was standing there, eyes distant, lips blue. "They forget faster when they eat," she whispered, and then bit into a piece of ice until it cracked like bone. Her mouth bled, but she didn't stop. Later that night, I found Jonas sitting on the staircase, humming a tune I knew but couldn't name. His shoes dripped water onto the steps. "Did I ever check in?" he asked. I told him yes, but he smiled like he didn't believe me. "Then why do I keep waking up here?" His eyes filled with fog until they weren't eyes anymore, just two pale clouds floating in his skull. I ran, but his voice followed, echoing through the halls. "You can't leave a place that remembers you." In the basement, I found walls made of doors, hundreds of them stacked like bricks, each with a name carved into the wood. I ran my hand across one and felt it pulse beneath my skin. One door was labeled Ely. My heartbeat sensed with the vibration behind it. I turned the knob and saw a copy of the lobby. Same fog, same counter. But Mr. Grayson was there, smiling. He said, "You're almost ready to check out." Behind him, I saw the 13th version of myself ringing the bell. The bell rang again, but this time I didn't hear it. I felt it, vibrating inside my ribs. The guests gathered in silence, eyes turned toward me. "You've been a wonderful host," said Mr. Grayson, voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. My reflection behind the counter began to smile as I froze. I, lifted a pen and wrote something in the ledger. I looked down at the page. The ink was still wet, and next to my signature was a new title. Caretaker. The ledger wasn't close anymore. Every time I shut it, the pages breathe. Names rearrange themselves. Lines shift like worms under skin. I started hearing whispers between the words, my own voice reading entries I don't remember writing. Outside, the fog pulses faintly, as if following the rhythm of the heartbeat buried beneath the floorboards. Mr. Grayson's office door is locked, but light leaks through the keyhole. A cold blue light, humming like electricity underwater. I knock once. The light blinks back like an eye. I find Harris standing by the boiler again, staring into the darkness like he is listening to something deep inside it. "They remember you now," he says softly. "The ones who left." His voice doesn't sound human anymore. It echoes too much, repeats itself with half-second delay. I ask him what he means, but he only smiles, showing teeth that look too white, too sharp. When he turns, his uniform isn't his. It's mine? The hotel's heartbeat grows louder. I hear it behind the walls and the pipes, under the floorboards. Every door vibrates in rhythm with it. I follow the sound upstairs and find Lydia in the hallway, her face wet with tears or rain. I can't tell. They want you to stay, she says. You're part of the memory now. Her reflection in the window turns to face me even after she's walked away. And in that reflection, my eyes aren't my own anymore. The walls keep changing. I followed a corridor that folded in on itself until I ended up in a room that looked exactly like the lobby, except everything was reversed, mirrored perfectly. Even the clock ticked backward. Mr. Grayson stood at the far end, adjusting his tie in the reflection. I asked him how to leave. He said, "Leaving isn't part of the stay." Then he pointed at the reflection of me, who was already turning away. I realized I wasn't standing on the floor. I was inside the mirror. The fog has started seeping through the mirrors now. It drips onto the floor like oil, pooling at my feet. The guests gather again, silent, glass-eyed, waiting for something unseen. The bell rings, softer this time, like a whisper. I open the ledger one last time and see new words forming by themselves. Every caretaker must become part of the memory. The ink spreads into a shape. A doorway, drawn in black veins. Behind me, the fog moves closer. It smells like rain and old wood. And somewhere inside it, I hear my own voice, welcoming someone new. The fog moves differently now. Slower, purposeful, like it knows where I'll stand before I do. The hotel hums in its bones, alive and watchful. Every door I touch is warm, pulsing faintly. The guests drift through the halls, speaking in whispers that aren't language. I find Mr. Grayson sitting in the dining room, tea untouched, eyes glassy. "It's remembering you faster," he murmurs. "The place hates forgetting." I ask what happens when it remembers everything. He smiles thinly. "Then it won't need us anymore." I follow the hum to the ballroom. The chandeliers sway as though there's no wind. The walls glisten like they've been crying. A record spins by itself on a dusty gramophone, playing a tune that repeats only one note. Lydia dances slowly in the center, bare feet sliding across the floor, her eyes half closed. "We used to know this song," she whispers. "It's the sound of remembering." I step closer and see her reflection twirling faster than she does, smiling wider, until the grin splits her face in two. I hear music in the walls now. Not just the gramophone. Deeper, older, like an organ made of stone. The air vibrates with it, shaking dust from the ceiling. Harris appears beside me, voice distant. "The hotel remembers through us. That's why it keeps us." He lifts his sleeve. His veins glow faintly gold, pulsing in rhythm with the sound. "We're the power." When I touch his arm, the light jumps into my fingers, crawling up toward my heart. The walls breathe now, in and out, like lungs of wood and stone. The paintings blink when I pass. I find the main door, unlocked for the first time. I push it open, but instead of the mountain, there's only another hallway, identical to the one behind me. My reflection in the glass stands where I should be, smiling patiently. "Almost," it says without sound. "You're almost one of us." Then it reaches forward, from inside the reflection, and presses its hand against mine through the glass. The ledger writes by itself now. Each stroke of ink feels like a heartbeat inside my skull. Mr. Grayson appears beside me, his reflection standing closer than he does. "Every memory needs a keeper," he says softly. "You've done well." I look down at the page. The ink forms a sentence. The caretaker must stay behind. The bell rings one final time, soft, tired. The guests vanish into the fog one by one. I open my mouth to breathe, and the air tastes like dust, old wood, and something that remembers my name. Silence sits heavy, thicker than the fog. The guests are gone, but their absence hums through the walls like static. The lobby breathes in slow rhythm. I feel it in my lungs, matching it without meaning to. The hotel doesn't echo anymore. It answers. When I whisper, the walls whisper back. I ask, "What are you?" And the air trembles. You! I turn toward the mirror behind the counter and see the lobby stretching endlessly through reflections. Hundreds of me. All blinking a moment late. I walk through corridors that breathe. Doors open before I reach them, closing softly after I pass. Wallpaper ripples like the surface of water. The smell of rain and burnt wood fills my chest. When I reach room 9, it's no longer a room. It's a void shaped like memory. Inside, I see fragments of every face that's ever stayed here, flickering like film reels burning out. Lydia's voice drifts through the air. If the hotel remembers you, it keeps you. I whisper back. Then what happens when it forgets? The lights flicker. It starts over. Down in the cellar, I find the furnace roaring, though no one lit it. It beats in time with my heart. Ash floats like snow, glowing faintly gold. On the far wall, I see names carved deep into stone. Mine among them, but crossed out and rewritten again and again. Mr. Grayson stands beside the flames, face lit in orange. You understand now, he says. The hotel doesn't trap souls. It recycles them. He gestures to the carvings. Every caretaker builds the next one. My pulse slows. The walls throb once, like a closing heartbeat. The fog now carries voices, laughter, crying, things that sound half-remembered. When I breathe, it enters me and doesn't leave. I see hallways where they shouldn't exist, mirrors that lead to other mirrors. Every surface ripples like wet glass. I hear Lydia again, whispering from nowhere and everywhere. You're the last thing it needs. The bell rings once more, but not from the counter. From inside my chest, I return to the lobby, where the ledger waits open, pages glowing faintly from within. Ink pours across the paper without a pen, sketching blueprints, not of rooms, but of veins and hallways, woven together. The design looks like both a building and a body. My name fades from the top, replaced by a single word: hotel. The fog stills. The heartbeat slows. I close my eyes and hear doors opening in the distance. Hundreds of them. Then a bell rings, clear, calm, welcoming someone new. The rain outside never stops now. It falls in sheets that sound like applause, as if the mountain itself approves of what's been done. I wake behind the counter. Though I don't remember sleeping, my hands move on their own, setting keys, straightening ledgers, lighting candles already lit. The walls sigh when I breathe. In the window's reflection, fog drifts closer until it fills the glass entirely. A car's headlights flicker in the distance, cutting through the mist. New guests. The hotel hums softly inside my ribs, eager. They arrive just before dawn. 3 figures stepping from the fog, empty-handed, faces hidden by the downpour. The moment they cross the threshold, the rain stops. I greet them without thinking. My voice sounds older, deeper, like it's been practiced for years. One of them asks for a room without mirrors. I nod, pretending there's such a place. As I hand them the keys, the brass feels warm, alive, pulsing faintly. The hotel sighs in satisfaction, and I realize it's through my lungs. Midday. The corridors are quiet again, but now I hear faint laughter. My own, echoing from somewhere above. I follow it to the upper floor. Room 9 stands open, light bleeding from the crack beneath its door. Inside, there's no furniture, only swirling fog. For a heartbeat, I see shapes in it. Outlines of Lydia, Harrison, Jonas watching me. They don't move. They don't need to. Their gazes settle somewhere behind me, and when I turn, I understand why. The walls have grown eyes. The power flickers and dies. Candlelight takes its place without help. I find Mr. Grayson in the mirror, not behind it, but inside, sitting at the counter as if it's still his shift. "You've done well," he tells me. "Now keep the rooms ready. The world forgets faster each year." His reflection raises a hand, and I feel my own arm mirror it perfectly. "Will they ever leave?" I ask. He smiles. "Only if we stop remembering." The glass ripples like water, and he fades. My reflection stays smiling. Night again. The fog returns thicker, heavier, swallowing the forest and the stars. Somewhere in the distance, a car engine stops. The bell on the counter rings once. Clear. Perfect. I open the ledger. Fresh ink bleeds across the page, forming new names I don't recognize. Beneath them, a line already written waits. Caretaker. Eli Hallow. I trace the letters and feel the heartbeat of the building steady beneath my fingers. Outside, footsteps approach. I smile. "Welcome," I whisper as the door begins to open.